Week 4 of VCT Americas Stage 1 has just concluded, and there are some pretty crazy games that we need to take a look at. Some predictable results, but also some upsets, as well as some pretty close games that made for some very entertaining matches. So without further ado, let's go through all 6 matches that happened in Week 4 of VCT Americas Stage 1. So this is the board we have today, and we're going to be starting this video off with talking about 100 Thieves versus 2G. This was a clean 2-0 victory by 100 Thieves, but 2G did not go down without a fight, making that first map very close. It went into overtime. It looked like 2G were potentially going to do what they did to Loud and get that overtime win and then an upset win, but then as soon as 100 Thieves won that overtime, they started to roll and didn't let 2G get much going on map 2. Looking at map 1, we have Ascent. This was a map that 2Game did very well on against Crew. They did pick it for this map and started off pretty strong on their attack side. They won the pistol. They had a 6-2 lead. However, 100 Thieves would claw their way back by winning 4 rounds in a row to tie the game at the half. Pretty back and forth second half, ends up with 100 Thieves at match point at round 23, but then 2Game were able to get that round 24 win to bring it into that overtime. Back and forth overtime ends up with 100 Thieves winning this one 15-13. Cryocell's doing really well on the Yoru. He's been 100 Thieves' best player, one of the best players in the Americas this year so far. 30 kills, he was plus 12, very solid match from him. And for 2Game, their top fragger was LZ, 24 kills for him on the Omen. He's been playing quite well. Then we move on to Icebox, this one being 100 Thieves pick, and 2Game would start this one off good yet again, winning the first 3 rounds in a row, but as soon as 100 Thieves got the momentum, they didn't let 2Game steal it away from them. Ends up being 7-5 at the half, and then 2Game yet again win the pistol, doing really well on pistols in this match, but weren't able to convert it to much of anything after that because 100 Thieves won 6 in a row to make this one over pretty quick. Boostio had probably his best match of 2025 so far. He had 20 kills on the Killjoy, doing very well. He even got an ace during this match. And the top fragger for 2Game was Askia this time, their duelist player, only 17 kills for him, so decent results there, but that second half definitely hurt 2Game stats. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of 100 Thieves, we have Cryocells, who went 50, 26, and 7 and had 14 separate multi-kills. On the side of 2Game, Louise, yet again their best player, 37, 35, and 17, and he had 3 separate 3Ks. So 100 Thieves get this win. This was a very important win for them in their group. With this win, they locked down playoffs. If they lost this one, they would have had a 2-2 record, so it would have been a bit dicier for them, but they weathered the storm once 2Game was playing well, and they get the win, and now they're in playoffs. We'll see what they can do, and we'll see how they do in their last match of the round robin against Crew. And for 2Game, they are now confirmed to be not in playoffs. They still have one more game left, but it's not really for much of anything, more about pride. It is against Sentinels, so maybe they can play spoiler to Sentinels a little bit, but Sentinels are also confirmed for playoffs. But I do like what I've seen from 2Game at the end of this stage. I think they've played quite well. Ever since that win over Loud, this team has actually looked pretty good, so hats off to them. We'll see what they can do in stage 2. Moving on to the second match of the Friday, we have G2 versus Leviatan. Heading into this one, G2 were the heavy favorites for this one. Leviatan, a team that has improved lately but was struggling during the stage. But after Leviatan got that good win over Furia, they've looked a lot better. And in this match, they were able to take a map. They still lost it, but Leviatan are starting to look like the team that people were choosing as kind of a dark horse in the Americas. A team that does have a lot of talent. Maybe the combination of the players isn't the best, but if they can figure out their roles, then maybe there's some upset potential here for this team. And they looked like they could have done against G2. 2 pretty close maps, and then map 3 did get away from them. G2 just establishing dominance there, but still a respectable performance. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus, this one being G2's pick. They've been undefeated on this map this year. Lev do win the first pistol, G2 answer right back, but a pretty back and forth half ends up even. But then Leviatan win that second pistol, so winning both pistols during the map, but then G2 steal it right back yet again. Yet again, a pretty back and forth second half ends up with G2 preventing the overtime at round 23. Valen did very well as the top fragger for G2 here. He had 23 kills, he was plus 9 on the Omen. And for Leviatan, Demon 1 back on Duelist, playing the Neon. He looked great on it. He had 22 kills on that agent. Then we move on to Fracture, this one being Leviatan's pick. Interesting map pick here, and it worked out well for them. Didn't start that way though. G2 won the first 4 rounds in a row, and then ended the half 7-5. G2 won the second pistol, but Leviatan were able to start a streak of 5 rounds in a row, which put them in the driver's seat. G2 would get 2 more rounds to get to 11, but then Leviatan would prevent the tie. Trent was the top fragger for G2 this time with 23 kills. He was plus 8 on the Tejo. And for Leviatan, we had Tex look really solid on the Vise with 23 kills. He was plus 8. So Leviatan were able to get that upset win on Fracture. Pretty decent counter pick there, but then Haven would not go as well for them. Lev would win that pistol, but then G2 was like, all right, enough is enough. Let's wrap this up, and won 10 rounds in a row. So it's 10-2 at the half, not looking great for Leviatan, but they make it at least closer by by winning 5 rounds to start the second half. Looked like maybe there's some potential of a comeback here, but G2 are a very good team. Once they have that lead, they're not letting it go. 3 rounds in a row for G2 would end this one at round 20, 13-7 being the final score. Trent yet again the top fragger for his team, 20 kills on the Tahoe. Rossi and Demon 1 tying for that top frag. Demon 1 on the Jet this time. He played Brimstone on Fracture, so looks like maybe he's back to a Duelist Smokes flex. I think that's the best decision for him, but he looked quite good. 18 kills for him on that Jet agent. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of G2, we have Trent, who went 60, 39, and 18 and was plus 21. And for Leviatan, we had Demon 1. People said I should have put him in my players that are struggling video, but I think this is kind of why I didn't put it in, because I felt like if he was just playing the right role, he would have done well. 62 kills, 53 deaths, 16 assists, and it's 17 multi-kills. So overall, very solid match from Leviatan here, showing that they can at least contend with some of the top teams in the region. They've had a good last 2 games. They had a pretty rough start to the stage, so this is some improvement. They do now have to beat Energy for that final spot in their group. If they lose that one, they are out. But they've shown a lot of improved play, and I think that they're probably the favorites heading into that match. So we will see what they can do, but it is looking up for this team that looked pretty bad to start the stage. And for G2, they lost 1 map, but it's no skin off their back. They've already locked down top spot in their group. At this point, you're just kind of getting ready for playoffs, maybe trying out some different things. It's not that big of a deal if you win 2-1 versus 2-0. This team is still the best team in the entire region. We'll see what they can do during playoffs. Moving on to the Saturday games, we have C9 versus Furia. For Furia, the disaster continues, with them losing this one without winning a map. They did make that first map close. They got it into overtime, but C9 were able to get the momentum back and didn't let it go. With this win, C9 locked down their playoff spot. It was a very important match for them and a pretty favorable one. Looking at map 1, we have Lotus. This was Furia's pick and ended up being a 16-14 win for C9. C9 started off pretty strong, having a very strong first half on that attack side. They won the pistol. Furia couldn't win more than 1 round in a row. Ended up being 8-4 at the half, so Furia looking pretty dead in the water. However, they would then win the pistol and then have a pretty solid attack side on their own, being able to take advantage of that attacker-sided map of Lotus, and they ended up winning 4 rounds in a row to get to map point. Then C9 would get 2 rounds in a row to bring it into overtime, and then both teams only winning on attack side in that overtime, until C9 were able to do it on their defense side and win this one at round 30. Havoc was the top fragger for Furia, not in rating but in kills. He had 24 kills, he had 24 deaths, so he was even, but he did look a lot better. He's been really struggling lately. The entire team has, but Havoc has looked pretty abysmal. But this was an improved map for him, so it was good to see. And for C9, their top fraggers tie with Vic and Oxy apiece, 27 kills for both of them. +9 for Vic, +5 for Oxy. Very good combo right there. Vic continues his strong run. And then we move on to Pearl, which ends up being a decimation by C9. A complete opposite of map 1. That one very close, headed into overtime, and this one not even close to overtime. Really poor performance by Furia on this one. C9 win the first 11 rounds in a row. Furia do end up getting that one at round 12, but then 2 more from C9 to start the second half. This one is over very quick. We had no player on Furia get more than 7 kills. Havoc, who had that good map 1, ended up coming back down to earth with 7 kills on the Jet. Just a very unfortunate performance by him. Whereas for C9, we have a pretty spread out scoreline. No player getting a ton of more kills than the other, but Zeppa was the top fragger with 15 kills on the Yoru, who was +12. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of C9, we have Vic, who went 41, 24, and 14 for +17. On the side of Furia, we have Khalil, who went 30, 34, and 9 for -4. So for C9, they avoid that map 1 scare and then find their footing in map 2. So they now have that playoff spot locked down. Looks like they're probably getting that 3rd spot in the playoffs because they lost that head-to-head against MIBR, but it does depend on what happens in the last week. They are playing G2 next, which looks like they're probably going to lose that one, but that match is probably more important to C9 than it is to G2, so maybe there's potential for an upset there. They've been looking really strong lately, so they can do it, but we will see if they can. And for Furia, they're out of playoffs. They're not making it. They've lost both head-to-heads against Leviatan and Energy, and the record is abysmal. They have not won a match during this stage. They haven't won a match in 2025 aside from that sub-roster match at the start of kickoff, so it's just been a terrible losing streak for this team. Speaking of another Brazilian team on a losing streak, we have Sentinels versus Loud. This one was closer than the first match of the day, but still ended up with Loud falling short yet again. This time subbing in Tui's for Vinny. Tui's Freeze was benched in the previous match, and when that didn't work, then they swapped out Vinny, who's been performing quite poorly lately. And the new player in Luke Show has had 2 very strong matches in a row now, but the team still is not winning, so their roster juggling just is not bearing fruit. Whereas Sentinels needed this match to lock down playoffs, and they just ended up wanting it more. Looking at map 1, we have Split, this one being Sentinels pick, a map they're quite good on, ended up being 13-10. Loud would win the first pistol, but Sentinels steal it right back. It ended up having a 7-5 half in favor of them. Then Sentinels win that second pistol, they have a decent lead, but then Loud were able to crawl back a little bit. Sentinels at map point at round 18, but then Loud would win 4 in a row to make it a little bit closer, but then Sentinels would shut down any chance of overtime in round 23. The top frag on Sentinels was Narrate, a player who has had a bit of an up and down stage, but has looked quite good in his last 2 matches. 19 kills for him on the Breach, very good performance there. And for Loud, as I said, the new player in Luke Show has looked great lately. 21 kills for him on the Viper, looks like a very solid rookie for this team. Looking at map 2, we have Lotus, this one being a 13-11 win for Loud on their own map pick. Sentinels start by winning 2 in a row, Loud gets 2 in a row, 3 in a row for Sen, but then this one ends up being even at the half. Very close first half, but then Loud would start off the second half strong by winning 4 rounds in a row on their attack side. They ended up having a 12-9 lead at round 21. Sentinels trying to bring it to overtime, could not do it. Loud would shut that one down at the last round. Narrate yet again having a strong map, this time him playing the Taeho and John QT playing the Breach. Interesting switch there. For Loud, their top fragger was Digizin, who not only had 28 kills but a rating of 1.52. So Loud get that second map win, but then can't do the same on map 3. While they would win the pistol, Sentinels would then proceed to win 8 rounds in a row. Would end up being 9-3 at the half. Loud just not getting anything going. And then Sentinels would win the pistol, 2 rounds in a row from Loud, would make this one at least a little bit closer, but it would not do much. This one was over by round 18. Top fragger for Sentinels was actually Zelsa's this time with 19 kills on the Cypher. And for Loud, we have Luke Show with 18 kills. He was +3. I think he's been positive in all 3 of these maps and maybe every map he's played so far, but he's looked quite good. But again, the team's not winning, so kinda just fool's gold at this point. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of Sentinels, we have Nary, who went 62, 35, and 35 for +27. And for Loud, we have Luke Show, who went 61, 49, 16, and he had 1 ace. So solid win for Sentinels. Them versus Loud is usually a pretty good match, and this one was an important one for them to secure that playoff spot, so they get that done. They have their last match against 2 game. They should win that one, but that game isn't the most consequential of the stage, so it doesn't really matter if they lose that, but they still probably will. And for Loud, they now have their longest losing streak as a franchise. 6 losses in a row. They are not making playoffs. This has been a disastrous part of the season for this team. I will probably be doing a deeper dive into what's been wrong with Loud in a different video, but for now, it's just all been bad. Moving on to the Sunday games, we have probably the most surprising match of the entire weekend, and that is EG winning over Crew. Not only winning, but a 2-0 victory for that team to secure that last playoff spot. I fully expected Crew to win this one, and then there would potentially be a chance that EG wouldn't make playoffs, but EG just ended up wanting it more. Crew miss out on their chance to secure top spot in their group, and EG, off the back of a very good performance by Superman, get that playoff spot locked down. They've looked pretty mediocre during the stage, but this is the best that they've looked all season. Not only winning against Crew, but also controlling them pretty effectively. Looking at map 1, we can see that right here. 13-4 win for Evil Geniuses on Crew's map pick. EG started on attack and had a very good half. They started strong, they won the pistol, and ended up having a 10-2 half. And then Crew would win that second pistol, but couldn't strain more than 1 round in a row all map. This one over quickly at round 17. Top fragger for Crew was Mazzino with 15 kills, but he matched that in his deaths too. And for EG, Superman with 22 kills, he looked great all day. So Crew lose that first map, but Crew does have this weird thing of any map that they lose this season so far, it seems to be just they have to lose it in like a wide margin. So it's not the biggest deal that they lose map 1. They've shown to have pretty good comeback ability and win map 2 after losing map 1. The match against Loud during stage 1 is a perfect example of that, but that did not happen here. EG continued their strong run. They controlled Crew the entire game. They had yet another 10-2 half, winning the first pistol, and then Crew would win that second pistol, but just could not do much of anything. This one over at round 20, a little bit better from Crew here than map 1, but They just could not get much going. Top fragger for Crew was Mizzino yet again on the vines. He had 17 kills. And for EG, Superman shows up once again. He had a rating of 1.29 and 21 kills for him. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of EG, who else but Superman? 43, 19, and 10 for plus 24. On the side of Crew, we have Mizzino going 32, 33, and 11 for -1. So very impressive match for Evil Geniuses. They locked down that playoff spot. They don't have to worry about that now. They just have to start to heat up before playoffs start. It looks like they're still probably going to have that last spot in the group, number 4 seed, which means they're probably going to have a harder bracket than other teams, but maybe it ends up somehow being an advantage based off of the teams that they have to play against. We will see how that shakes up. And for Crew, a bit of an embarrassing loss here. I thought that they would come back in that second map, but then it just did not happen. Not the worst loss in the world. Chalk it up to just having an off day, but this team cannot show this inconsistency. Consistency was a problem for them last year. They looked consistent this year. They looked like the top team in the group, and now there's a chance that they don't get that top spot in their group. Looks like they probably still will because they have the head-to-head against Sentinels. They are finishing their stage against 100 Thieves, so we'll see what they can do there. They can win that one, but 100 Thieves might end up wanting it more. We'll see how this all ends up shaking up. And moving on to the last match we have to talk about, we have MIBR versus Energy. MIBR wins this one pretty convincingly, 2-0 victory. Energy just looking very, very mediocre. For Energy, the disaster continues. There was hope that after winning against Furia, that maybe this team would start to turn things around. Then they had that bad match against G2. In my power rankings, I gave them the benefit of the doubt that G2 was a very good team. And getting blown out by them, a lot of teams get blown out by them, it's fine. However, against MIBR, a team that isn't as good as G2, but is of similar skill, Energy barely did any better than they did in that G2 game, and MIBR just ended up controlling them. Verno with an amazing revenge game, just absolutely stunting on the team that did them dirty. This was a calculated takedown of this Energy team, and it's looking very dire for them. Looking at map 1, we have Haven. This one started off with Energy looking good, but they looked good for about 4 rounds during the entire match, I think. Chalk up the other round wins to luck because it was just all MIBR after round 4. Solid end to their attack half from MIBR. They looked a little shaky at first, but once they got settled in, it was just only them. And then their defense half was very solid. They ended up winning 7 rounds in a row to end this one, Energy not getting anything done on the attack. Top fragger for Energy was Mata, 18 kills for him, sure. And for MIBR, Verno just feasting on his old team, 22 kills for him on the Tejo, plus 15, doing his best to make Energy regret ever dropping him. And then things do not get better for Energy at the second map, Icebox, this one being MIBR's pick. They knew what to do here. Very solid play from Cortesia, Ospas, and Verno. Energy do get that first pistol, but can't string any rounds together after that. 3 rounds in a row for MIBR, 1 round for Energy, and then another 5 for MIBR. Ends up being 9-3 at the half. Energy hoping for a curse. It does not come. They do get that second pistol, so they got both pistols, cool. But then 4 rounds in a row for MIBR was all they needed to end this one. Ethan was the top fragger for Energy in this one, 19 kills for him, he was plus 3. Ospas doing great on this map, 23 kills for him, he was plus 12. Looking at the team MVPs on the side of MIBR, has to be Verno, 33, 18, and 8, he was plus 20. He was teabagging his team, he was talking a lot of trash during the replays, he was just annihilating them. And for Energy, Ethan had a decent match, 32, 28, and 9 for plus 4. So for MIBR, very solid win. They had a little shaky first 4 rounds, so a bit of a slow start, but then they recovered in a very good way. Very solid second half on both maps during this match. They controlled Energy the entire time. Absolutely playing into the Verno revenge arc for this one, and it worked out swimmingly. It looks like Energy just gifted this team a very good player. And for Energy, it's just bad match after bad match right now. They still technically have a chance to make playoffs. They are up against Leviatan in the final week. But even if this team makes playoffs, do you really expect this team to do anything during these playoffs? Because I do not have faith that they would. I will be doing an updated power ranking this week. Do not expect this team to be very high. It's just all looking bad for this team. So that's everything that I have to talk about today. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of these matches? How do you think the last week is going to go? There's only one playoff spot up for grabs now, but it's now going to be fighting for seeding for a lot of these teams. So see how that ends up going. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.